All right, today we are diving deep, and I mean literally, into the absolutely incredible engineering story behind Deep Dive Dubai. This is a project that truly pushed the limits of what anyone thought was possible.
Okay, I want you to imagine this. You spend years, you pour millions of dollars and just countless hours into one single goal, to build the world's deepest pool. And then, just as you're getting close to the finish line, you find out a competitor might have just beaten you to it.
Well, for the team in Dubai, this wasn't some hypothetical nightmare. It was real. And it put their entire project, not to mention Dubai's reputation for breaking records, in some serious jeopardy, like overnight.
Just as they were digging down to their goal of 45 meters, news broke. A rival pool over in Poland had just opened at, get this, the exact same depth. Suddenly, all that work, all that digging, was for what? A shared title? No way! This forced a huge, risky change of plans right in the middle of construction.
So you might be asking, why was this such a massive crisis? To really get it, we need to rewind a bit and see why this particular record was so important to them in the first place. 425, what's that? Well, that's how many Guinness World Records Dubai holds. That's the most of any city in the entire Middle East. You see, breaking records is kind of baked into the city's identity, and they were dead set on adding world's deepest pool to that list.
But, it wasn't just about being the deepest. The pool had to mean something. The directive from the Crown Prince himself was super clear. Create a design that honors Dubai's pearl driving heritage. And that vision, that's what led to the iconic and incredibly challenging oyster shell design you see today.
Right at the start, the team had this huge choice to make. Do they build up, which is way easier, or do they dig down? Well, here's the thing. To officially claim the world record, the pool had to be underground. Plus, digging down solved another massive problem, Dubai's crazy heat. So the choice was pretty clear, right? They had to go down.
Okay, but digging a hole this massive, it's not just about scooping up some sand. It was a full-on battle against the Earth itself and against the water they were trying to hold back.
So this first phase was basically a war against geology. To stop this gigantic hole from just caving in, they spent the first 2 months building what's called a diaphragm wall. Think of it like a massive concrete and steel cage they built piece by piece, sinking it deep into the ground.
And get this is just wild. For 2 whole years, as they kept digging deeper and deeper, these massive pumps had to run nonstop. We're talking 24/7. Why? To fight back the incredible pressure of groundwater that was always trying to seep in and flood the whole site. And what was the result of all that work? Well, this number is just staggering. 45,000 tons of earth, sand, and rock. That's what they had to dig up and haul away just to hit that first goal of 45 meters. I mean, what a monumental task.
So, just imagine. After all that effort, bam, the news from Poland hits. The order comes from the very top. We have to go deeper. But just digging another 15 meters? Well, that wasn't just more of the same. It introduced a whole new, terrifying problem, straight out of a physics textbook.
Okay, so let's talk a little physics here. It's something called buoyancy force. It's a fundamental rule, right? The groundwater all around this huge concrete structure, it's pushing up on it, constantly.
The best way to think about it is like this. Try holding an empty, sealed water bottle at the bottom of a full bathtub. What happens? The water pushes it right up. Now, just imagine that water bottle is the size of an office building. The ground itself, totally soaked with water, was trying to push the entire pool structure right back up to the surface. And here is the absolute crux of the problem. At the original 45-meter depth, the plan was perfect. The massive weight of the water inside the pool would be just enough to cancel out that upward push from the groundwater. But at 60 meters, the math totally changed. That upward buoyancy force would become dangerously strong enough to threaten to lift the entire thing right out of the ground.
So everything screeched to a halt. The whole project was stopped. The world record dream was on the verge of, well, not collapsing, but literally popping out of the ground. The entire investment was at risk, until one engineer had this brilliant idea that changed everything.
So what was this genius idea? The engineers came up with this really clever 2-part solution to basically pin the structure to the earth. First, they decided to make that new, deeper section narrower. That would reduce the surface area that the upward force could push on.
And second, they would build a massive anchor.
This anchor has a technical name. It's called an under-reaming base. And what it is they basically expanded the foundation at the very bottom, creating a shape kinda like a giant concrete bell. This bell shape uses the weight of all the Earth sitting on its shoulders to anchor the whole pool down, fighting back against that incredible upward force.
Okay, so the physics nightmare? Solved. The project was back on track to break that world record. But now, the clock was ticking louder than ever. It became this desperate race against time.
So the challenges changed, right? It wasn't about physics anymore. It was about logistics. That empty pool was still at risk from the buoyant force, so they had to fill it, and fill it fast. But the city water supply? Way too slow. We're talking 3 months. So what they do? They called in a fleet of over 100 water tankers for a non-stop delivery marathon. Oh, and they had to build that whole amazing sunken city inside the pool before they added the water, which of course led to a few surprises, like finding out some of your cool underwater props actually float.
So even with this constant parade of water tankers running day and night, it still took a full month to pour in 14 million liters of water. To give you an idea, that is enough to fill six Olympic-sized swimming pools.
So after everything, Deep Dive Dubai finally opened in 2022. And the final cost? Well, that remains a pretty closely guarded secret. When they were asked, the government just called it a priceless project for Dubai. And, maybe that's the best way to describe it. It's really a testament to raw ambition, a story of staring down a crisis and solving it with pure ingenuity. And it's a great reminder that sometimes, to reach for the sky, you first have to conquer the depths.